Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepless Scientist, a quiet place in the cosmos where your thoughts can unwind and knowledge becomes a soft lullaby for the night. Tonight's journey will take us into the hidden world of the subconscious mind, that silent current beneath every thought, every heartbeat, every dream. It is the part of you that never sleeps, never argues, never stops creating. The quiet architect that shapes your health, your creativity, and the very fabric of what you call reality. But before you settle in and get cozy, I'd love if you could take a moment to like this video and subscribe, only if you truly find these calm explorations enjoyable. And when you're ready, leave a comment to let me know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. It's always a joy to see how far our small constellation of listeners reaches, each of us adrift in our own corner of the night, yet sharing the same moment of stillness. Now, feel free to dim the lights, maybe turn on a soft fan or let the quiet hum of the room become part of the rhythm. Let your breath slow a little. If you'd like, imagine yourself lying beneath a night sky, the kind untouched by cities or clocks, where stars shimmer like thoughts just about to be born. And as you breathe, imagine each exhale as a small release, a letting go of all the noise of the day. If your mind drifts tonight, that's perfectly fine. Let it wander. The subconscious doesn't mind detours. It often finds its way home by getting a little lost. So, as you rest back and listen, let's begin our gentle descent into the deeper mind, the part of you that remembers everything you've ever seen, felt, or dreamed, even when you cannot recall a thing. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like the surface of a lake at dawn. The conscious thoughts, what you decide, what you plan, are ripples that flicker briefly, vanishing as soon as they appear. But beneath them lies something vast, calm and deep. The subconscious. It is this depth that carries the lake's true stillness, even when the wind above it stirs. Scientists have tried to measure the border between conscious and subconscious life, and what they found is both humbling and extraordinary. Out of everything your mind does in a single day, every breath you take, every blink, every beat of your heart, only a small fraction, perhaps 1 part in 20, belongs to your conscious control. The rest happens quietly below awareness. It is as though only 5% of the orchestra is visible on stage, while the other 95% plays behind a velvet curtain, unseen yet essential. Right now, without your permission, your heart is adjusting its rhythm, your lungs are balancing oxygen and carbon dioxide, and your body temperature is being regulated with delicate precision. You don't tell your stomach to digest, or your immune system to defend you, yet both obey the deeper intelligence of the subconscious. It is the silent pilot that keeps you alive while your conscious mind is busy wondering what to eat for dinner or when to set an alarm. Even in sleep, this hidden mind never shuts down. It listens for danger, wakes you at the sound of your name, keeps your breathing steady through the night. It sorts your memories like a librarian working in darkness, deciding which experiences to store safely and which to let fade away. You awaken each morning believing you've rested, but in truth, another part of you has been tirelessly at work. What we call instinct is simply the subconscious moving faster than thought. If a glass begins to fall, your hand reaches before you think to reach. If you step onto uneven ground, your body adjusts balance without a single conscious command. This isn't magic, it's the accumulated wisdom of every movement, every sensation you've ever practiced, stored as automatic patterns. The subconscious is the mind's muscle memory, responding in less than a blink. It also holds something far more mysterious, the blueprint of your personality, the beliefs you carry, the emotions you replay, the habits that feel like second nature. All of these live in the deeper layers of mind. A child told they are loved grows into the world expecting warmth. A child told they must earn it learns to chase affection for a lifetime. The subconscious doesn't debate these lessons. It records them as facts and repeats them faithfully, like grooves on a record. From the moment you wake to the instant you fall asleep, your conscious mind believes it's in charge, making choices, solving problems, steering the day. But neuroscience paints a gentler truth. Your deeper mind begins acting a few seconds before you decide anything at all. It prepares the muscles, organizes attention, even releases the right hormones, then quietly lets your conscious self take the credit. Free will, it seems, is more of a dance than a declaration. You lead, but the music was already playing before you took the first step. Yet this hidden partnership is nothing to fear. The subconscious is not a stranger. It's you, in a quieter form. It is the part that knows how to comfort you when you breathe deeply, how to blush when someone sees you, how to cry without knowing exactly why. It is the same intelligence that allows a cut on your hand to heal without instruction. It listens, always, for the tone of your inner voice, the pictures you hold, and the emotions you feed it. In a sense, you're always teaching your subconscious what to believe about life. Every time you speak, imagine, or feel. When you whisper to yourself, "I can't do this," your deeper mind doesn't argue. It begins building the conditions where you cannot. When you sigh, "I'm tired," it takes the message literally and lowers your energy to match. But when you say, "I'm healing," or "I'm calm," with even a hint of sincerity, it adjusts its chemistry to honor your new command. The subconscious is obedient, not logical. It follows the strongest emotion, not the cleverest reason. So much of what we call reality is, in truth, the echo of what our deeper mind has accepted as real. You're walking through a house built long ago, furnished with old memories, painted with familiar fears and hopes. To change your outer life, you must gently remodel the rooms within. That is where our journey will go, not to fight the subconscious, but to understand it, to reintroduce ourselves to the quiet friend that has been running everything while we slept. As we drift further into the story, we'll explore how this hidden mind learns, how it stores emotions, and how we can speak its language again. Not with logic, but with feeling, imagery, and trust. For beneath every heartbeat, there is a whisper waiting to be heard. I never stopped listening. I never stopped creating. I am you, the part of you that dreams while you're awake. If we follow the thread a little further, the subconscious begins to appear not as a mystery at all, but as a carefully built system, ancient, layered, and astonishingly precise. It is the quiet engineer of your life, constructing behavior from memory, emotion, and repetition. It doesn't need to think in words because it thinks in patterns. It connects one experience to the next, building a kind of invisible scaffolding that holds your personality in place. You might imagine it as the lower floors of a great library, dimly lit but endlessly vast. The conscious mind walks the upper halls, leafing through whatever book it needs in the moment, while below thousands of librarians work silently, organizing, recording, and cross-referencing every detail of your life. They never close the doors. Even when you're asleep, they keep cataloguing. Neuroscientists have found that this hidden activity forms the majority of mental life. About 19 out of every 20 thoughts never reach the surface. That doesn't mean those thoughts are wasted. They become part of a living archive that helps you navigate each day. When you recognize a friend's face in a crowd, your subconscious has already analyzed shapes, distances, and expressions before you've even realized who you're looking at. When you feel drawn to someone or uneasy around them, it's this same hidden system reading subtle cues, a tightening of shoulders, a flicker of the eyes, patterns too quick for words. The architecture of this mind begins in childhood. From birth until roughly the age of 7, the subconscious is wide open, absorbing everything it sees and hears without question. During these years, the brain operates mostly in slow rhythmic waves, the same relaxed state adults enter during hypnosis or the moments before sleep. That's why children believe what they're told so deeply. Their subconscious is listening with full attention, imprinting every tone, gesture, and rule as the blueprint for reality. If a parent says, "You're so clever," that becomes a cornerstone belief. If they say, "You're always trouble," that becomes a law engraved in the mind's foundation. As the child grows, these early impressions form the architecture for every future decision. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between what's helpful or harmful. It simply records what it sees most often and assumes it must be true. By the time you're an adult, this silent system is running almost everything. How you handle love, how you react to conflict, even how much happiness you allow yourself to feel. Imagine learning to walk. At first, each movement is awkward and deliberate, a conscious act. You think about balance, about where to place your feet. But after a while, something remarkable happens. The conscious effort fades, and the act of walking transfers to the subconscious. From then on, it's automatic. You don't need to think left foot, right foot, you simply walk. This same process applies to nearly everything: speaking, driving, cooking, or even the way you respond to stress. Each repetition turns deliberate thought into a subconscious program. It's the mind's way of conserving energy, like turning new knowledge into muscle memory. But while this automation is efficient, it can also trap us. Old fears and learned limitations hide within these patterns, replaying the same emotional reactions long after the original cause is gone. You might still tense up when criticized because, somewhere in childhood, criticism meant danger or shame. The subconscious doesn't update itself automatically. It waits for you to teach it a new way. Until then, it will keep you safe by repeating what it already knows. Scientists sometimes call this the default mode network, the brain's background hum, active when your conscious mind is resting or daydreaming. In everyday words, it's like the mind's screensaver, quietly running old stories when you're not giving it something new to focus on. This network connects memory, imagination, and emotion. It's what helps you replay conversations, imagine outcomes, or revisit the past in your thoughts. But if the old stories are filled with worry, the subconscious keeps rehearsing worry, and soon it becomes your emotional default. Fortunately, the same mechanism that learns fear can also learn freedom. Each time you introduce a new image or emotion with repetition and feeling, the subconscious begins to rearrange its architecture. The old wiring doesn't disappear, it simply becomes less dominant, like an unused path growing over with grass. The more you walk the new path, of calm, of confidence, of compassion, the stronger it becomes. You can feel this shift in small ways. Think of a time you taught yourself to remain calm in a situation that once made you anxious. At first, it took effort. You had to remind yourself to breathe, to stay present. But with practice, the new response became easier, almost natural. That's your subconscious learning a new rhythm, the inner architecture quietly updating itself to support your intention. And this structure extends far beyond behavior. The subconscious also organizes your sensory world. It filters billions of tiny signals every second: sounds, colors, scents, textures, deciding which ones reach your awareness. Without this filtration, you would be overwhelmed. Yet, because of it, your experience of reality becomes selective. If you focus on beauty, your subconscious will highlight it everywhere you go. If you focus on stress, it will dutifully bring that to your attention instead. It's not judging you, it's simply trying to prove you right. In many ways, the subconscious is like a loyal assistant who takes your last instruction as an ongoing order. If you sigh, everything is difficult, it begins gathering evidence to support that claim. If you whisper, life is gentle, it looks for matching patterns. This responsiveness is the key to understanding why self-talk and imagination matter so deeply. You are, quite literally, programming the architecture through the way you describe your life to yourself. So much of what we call personality is just well-practiced energy. Beneath the layers of habits and defenses, the subconscious remains neutral, waiting for direction. It doesn't age, it only adapts. Every night as you dream, it continues to organize new experiences, integrating lessons and emotions like an artist blending colors on a canvas. By morning, the images change slightly, whether you notice or not. This hidden architecture is not a prison, it's a workshop. You can enter it at any time through stillness, repetition, and imagination. Meditation, prayer, or even simple daydreaming are all ways of stepping into its quiet corridors. When you close your eyes and picture something vividly, the face of a loved one, the peace of a quiet forest, the feeling of success, the subconscious takes that image as a blueprint to work from. It doesn't ask whether it's real or imagined, it only asks, shall I build this? And so, the structure continues to evolve, shaped by emotion, stabilized by belief, guided by the stories you repeat most often. Beneath your waking awareness, 1,000 invisible builders are always at work, following the plans you draw with thought and feeling. Whether the result is harmony or chaos depends on the clarity of those plans. As we drift deeper into this journey, we'll begin to see how this hidden system not only remembers and reacts, but also creates. It is the bridge between thought and matter, between imagination and biology. For in the quiet chambers of the subconscious, ideas are not just stored, they are planted, nurtured, and eventually brought to life. Time 1.5s. The path now carries us toward a subtler landscape, a place where mind and body meet so closely that you can hardly tell where one ends and the other begins. Here, the subconscious reveals itself, not only as a storehouse of memory and emotion, but as a living bridge between your inner world and the sensations that shape it. Every colour you see, every sound you hear, every small change in temperature or heartbeat passes through this bridge before it ever reaches your conscious thought. At any given moment, your senses are sending billions of tiny signals into your nervous system, far more than you could ever notice. The brush of fabric against your skin, the faint hum of electricity in the walls, the softness of the light on the table, it all arrives together, a flood of information. But your conscious mind can only focus on a handful of details at once. The rest disappears beneath awareness, handled quietly by your subconscious, which sorts and filters everything so that life feels manageable. It decides what to show you and what to hide. Without that gentle censorship, you would be overwhelmed by sensation. But the curious thing is that your subconscious doesn't discard those signals, it simply stores them. That is why a forgotten scent, years later, can open an entire chapter of memory. A childhood room, a loved one's voice, a season long gone. The aroma of rain on dry ground can return you to a summer long past, not through magic, but through a precise biological connection between the olfactory system and the subconscious mind. Smell travels directly to the brain's memory and emotion centers, bypassing the filters of reason. It speaks the native language of the deeper mind, and smell is not the only sense that does this. Think about music, how a melody can move you to tears without a single word, or how the gentle rhythm of waves can soothe anxiety more effectively than any argument. The subconscious is always listening for harmony. When it finds rhythm, it relaxes. When it hears dissonance, in sound, in voice, or in emotion, it tightens, preparing to protect you. In this way, the body itself becomes a musical instrument tuned by the subconscious. Every heartbeat, every breath, every gesture plays a note in the song of your existence. Micro-expressions, those fleeting movements of the face that last less than a heartbeat, are another sign of this connection. They reveal feelings before you even realize what you're feeling. A flicker of fear around the eyes, a half smile that disappears too soon, a subtle tightening of the jaw. The subconscious paints your emotions on your skin faster than thought can interfere. Trained observers can read these signs, but most of us simply sense them. We call it intuition, but in truth it's a fine-tuned understanding of these subtle signals. Even posture tells a story. Long before your mind names an emotion, your body begins to show it. When you're anxious, your shoulders curl inward as if to shield the heart. When you're joyful, your chest opens naturally. This happens automatically, guided by the subconscious, which links emotion to motion in a two-way loop. The body expresses what the subconscious feels, but the body can also teach it new feelings. That's why standing tall can generate a sense of confidence, and why softening your shoulders can create a sense of calm. The subconscious reads posture as emotional evidence, adjusting chemistry and perception to match. Through this constant dialogue, the subconscious translates invisible states into physical language. Every emotion leaves a trace in the body, and every movement leaves an echo in the mind. That's why the word emotion itself carries the root motion. To feel is to move, to stir energy that wants to be released or transformed. When you ignore emotion, the subconscious holds it, storing it in muscles, breath, and heartbeat, until it finds another way to speak. Sometimes it whispers through a tight chest, a headache, or a wave of fatigue. It's not punishing you. It's asking to be heard. Modern psychology calls this somatic memory, but the idea is ancient. Across cultures, people have always known that the body keeps its own story, through gesture, rhythm, and ritual. When you stretch, dance, or breathe deeply, you're not just relaxing muscles, you're communicating with the deeper layers of self. Each breath tells the subconscious that you are safe. Each slow exhale teaches the body to release its guard. In a way, every act of gentleness toward your body is an act of reprogramming the subconscious toward peace. But the bridge runs both ways. The subconscious also listens to the outer world, constantly scanning for patterns. If someone looks at you for a fraction of a second too long, you might feel it before you see it. That eerie sense of being watched is not superstition, it's sensitivity. The subconscious processes the edges of your vision, the direction of other people's gaze, the rhythm of footsteps nearby. It notices, then nudges your awareness to look up. In ancient times, this vigilance meant survival. Today, it remains a quiet guardian, still alert beneath the calm surface of consciousness. Even humour has roots in this hidden system. Laughter often bursts out before you can explain why something is funny. The subconscious detects a break in expectation, a twist, a surprise, and triggers joy before thought arrives. It's a sudden rush of recognition, the mind celebrating its own cleverness at noticing a pattern shift. In that moment, body and subconscious laugh together, and for an instant, all defences dissolve. This intricate web of scent and sound, of gesture and intuition, is how the subconscious connects the material world to the invisible. It doesn't divide reality into physical and spiritual, it experiences both at once. You could say it is the point where the senses become soul. When you close your eyes and feel the warmth of sunlight on your skin, or when a familiar song makes your heart swell, it's your subconscious reminding you that perception and emotion are not separate. They are two faces of the same awareness. In the stillness of night, when the conscious mind begins to fade, this bridge becomes clearer. You might dream of flying, of falling, of visiting places you've never been. The subconscious uses symbols instead of words. Water for emotion, flight for freedom, light for understanding. These images are its way of speaking across the divide. They are letters from the deeper self, written in the language of sensation and feeling. And so, the more you listen to your body, its quiet signals, its rhythms and pauses, the more fluently you begin to understand your subconscious. The more kindly you move, the more patiently you breathe, the more clearly it answers. It is not separate from you, but an extension of the same intelligence that animates life itself, a bridge between what you feel and what you know, between the senses and the soul. As we drift further into the story, we'll begin to explore how this bridge doesn't just translate life, it builds it. The subconscious doesn't simply reflect reality, it shapes it, sculpting each experience from the inside out. And as we begin to learn its language, we'll discover that every thought, every feeling, every quiet image is, in its own way, a seed of creation waiting for the right light to grow. From here, the story opens into the quiet workshop of creation, the place where thoughts become the blueprints of reality. If the subconscious is the bridge between senses and soul, then this is where that bridge begins to build the world around you. It happens quietly, rhythmically, like the growth of roots in darkness. You don't hear the sound of the seed expanding underground, yet it's there, taking in moisture, pushing through soil, preparing to rise. Every thought you hold, every emotion you repeat, works in the same way. There's a simple but profound truth that thinkers and mystics have repeated for centuries. As you think, so you become. Joseph Murphy, one of the early explorers of the subconscious, called it the law of belief. Every thought is a cause, and every condition an effect. But rather than seeing this as a moral law, it's more like a gentle law of physics, energy following focus, emotion shaping matter. Modern science describes something similar in softer terms: the brain's ability to rewire itself, what neuroscientists call neuroplasticity. Each time you imagine something with emotion, your neurons form connections as if the experience were real. You could say the brain doesn't know the difference between memory, imagination, and reality. It only knows repetition and feeling. Picture your mind as a field. The conscious self plants the seeds through choice and focus. The subconscious tends the soil, watering, feeding, and bringing those seeds to life. But the soil doesn't question what kind of seeds it receives. If you plant weeds of worry, it grows them with the same devotion it would give to the seeds of peace. If you feed it with fear, it multiplies fear. If you feed it with gratitude, it blossoms with opportunities that match that emotion. It cannot judge. It only obeys the pattern of belief you repeat most often. This is why affirmations and inner dialogue matter so deeply. Words are not just sounds, they're emotional codes. When you say, "I can't," your subconscious begins searching for ways to confirm it. When you whisper, "I can," it starts preparing to make that true. It doesn't wait for proof, it follows your tone. The subconscious listens to emotion more than logic. It hears the vibration beneath the words, the feeling of sincerity, fear, hope, or joy, and responds to that. You can see this law at work in small moments. Think of the mornings when you expect the day to be difficult. How often that expectation seems to come true. The traffic feels heavier, the people shorter-tempered, your own patience thinner. Then remember the days when you wake up in quiet gratitude and somehow everything flows more gently. The world didn't change. Your subconscious simply adjusted the filter through which you experienced it. It's as if the mind painted the day with the colour of your first thought. Murphy called this the creative process of the deeper mind. He said, "The subconscious mind accepts the dominant of two ideas. The stronger feeling always wins. You can't plant peace with a seed of anxiety, and you can't plant abundance with a feeling of lack. Emotion is the water that determines whether the seed grows or withers. When a thought and a feeling come together, they become a command." Modern researchers have discovered echoes of this process in the body itself. When people imagine exercising with vivid emotion, feeling the strain, the breath, the heartbeat, their muscles actually strengthen slightly, even without movement. When patients visualize healing, their immune systems show measurable improvement. The subconscious communicates directly with cells, adjusting chemistry and rhythm to match the images you hold. In a sense, every picture in your mind is a quiet instruction to your body about what to prepare for. But this doesn't mean you must force yourself to think positively all the time. The subconscious doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to consistency. It's like sunlight. Steady, gentle exposure warms the soil far more effectively than a single flash of lightning. When you replace "I have to" with "I choose to," the tension softens and the message becomes clear. When you say "I'm learning calm" instead of "I must be calm," the subconscious accepts the invitation instead of resisting it. You've probably felt this during creative work. The harder you try to make inspiration arrive, the quieter it becomes. But when you relax, ideas appear on their own. The subconscious doesn't bloom under demand. It opens under trust. That's why artists, athletes, and healers all talk about being in the flow. In that state, the conscious mind sets a gentle intention, then steps aside, allowing the deeper current to move freely. To practice this cooperation, begin small. Choose a single image, something simple, like peace. Instead of thinking the word, feel what it would be like to live in that peace. Let your shoulders relax, your breath slow. Picture it as a soft colour filling your chest, spreading outward. This is not fantasy. It's the way your subconscious learns. The body feels it first, the mind records it next, and soon the world starts to reflect it back to you. Over time, your subconscious becomes like a faithful gardener who knows what to cultivate. It remembers your tone, your mood, your focus, and begins working on your behalf, often in ways you can't see. Coincidences begin to appear. The right book, a helpful stranger, a sudden insight. These are not accidents. They're the outer signs of an inner alignment. When your conscious mind and subconscious mind agree, the path forward tends to clear itself. And so, each thought becomes a kind of prayer, not the pleading kind, but a quiet request written in the language of emotion. Every time you imagine something vividly and lovingly, you're whispering a new instruction into the soil of the subconscious. It doesn't need to be grand or perfect. It just needs to be honest and felt. Even the smallest seed of hope, planted sincerely, can take root in the deepest darkness. If you've ever watched a plant grow from a crack in concrete, you know the power of persistence. The subconscious works the same way. It doesn't care how many old thoughts once covered the ground. It will find a way toward light if you feed it faith instead of fear. The process is slow, often invisible but always certain. What you dwell upon becomes what you live. As we move gently forward, we'll explore how these thoughts, once planted, become self-sustaining, how they form habits, identities, even physical outcomes. For now, it's enough to remember this. Every time you imagine with feeling, you're reshaping the invisible. The mind you cannot see is the garden that grows the world you can. And like all gardens, it doesn't bloom because you demand it to. It blooms because you care for it softly every single day. The path now carries us into familiar territory, the landscape of habits, those small and often invisible patterns that guide almost everything you do. From the moment you wake up and reach for your phone to the way you brush your teeth or greet a stranger, most of it unfolds without thought. The subconscious has learned your preferences, your routines, even your worries, and it runs them faithfully like programs written long ago. This is not laziness, it is intelligence. The subconscious acts as the body's autopilot, conserving energy by automating what you've already practiced. Imagine if you had to consciously calculate how to balance your body with every step, or remind yourself to breathe evenly while reading these words. Life would grind to a halt under that level of effort. So, instead, your deeper mind quietly takes over, storing actions and responses that once required focus and turning them into effortless rhythms. Neuroscientists describe this process as efficiency, but in simpler language, you could say your subconscious is like a friend who's learned how you like your coffee and prepares it for you every morning without needing to be asked. The more consistent your actions, the stronger the memory. Each repetition, whether helpful or harmful, deepens the pattern. Over time, the subconscious becomes fluent in your habits, both the ones that heal and the ones that hurt. Picture your daily life as a song that plays in the background. Each morning you press play and the same melody begins. Some notes are beautiful: kindness, curiosity, laughter. Others are heavy: worry, guilt, distraction. If you want the music to change, you must teach the orchestra new notes, not by yelling at it, but by humming a gentler tune long enough for the musicians to hear. This is how habits form and fade. It's not a battle of willpower, but a matter of repetition. Studies show that a new habit takes somewhere between 3 and 9 weeks of steady practice to become automatic. That might sound long, but remember that the subconscious learns through rhythm, not speed. Just as it took time to memorize your fears, it takes time to memorize your freedom. When you repeat an action with emotion and attention, the deeper mind begins to record it as a new program. Think of the first time you learned to drive a car. Every movement felt deliberate: adjusting mirrors, checking signals, watching the road, pressing the pedals. Your conscious mind worked hard, sending careful instructions to your hands and feet. But after many drives, something shifted. You could hold a conversation, think about errands, even hum along to music, while your body steered and braked automatically. The act of driving had moved from the surface of the mind to the subconscious layer, freeing your conscious focus for other things. The same thing happens with emotional responses. Perhaps someone once told you that showing anger was dangerous, so you learn to swallow it. Years later, whenever conflict appears, your subconscious automatically shuts down emotion before it even reaches awareness. Or maybe you were often rewarded for being cheerful, so now you smile even when you're hurting. These are not flaws. They are simply old programs trying to keep you safe. But what once protected you may now hold you back, looping through patterns that no longer serve your life. The key is not to fight the autopilot, but to gently reprogram it. Imagine you've trained your subconscious to fly toward a storm because it once believed that storm was safety. You can't yank the controls away. That only creates resistance. Instead, you introduce new instructions, small steady signals pointing toward calm skies. Over time, the autopilot begins to recognize the new route. It's a dialogue, not a takeover. In practice, this might mean replacing habitual worry with intentional gratitude. When the mind starts spinning old fears, you pause and quietly redirect. Thank you for reminding me, but we're safe now. At first it feels forced, but with repetition, the deeper mind learns the new cue. It stops reacting from the past and begins responding to the present. The subconscious can also mistake focus for preference. Whatever you give emotional energy to, it assumes you want more of. When you replay mistakes or rehearse worries, you're unknowingly training it to seek out situations that match those feelings. The opposite is true as well. When you hold images of success, kindness, or peace, even for a few breaths, you train the deeper mind to notice those opportunities more quickly. It's as if you're adjusting the radar of perception itself. A simple exercise illustrates this. Think about a car you love, maybe a deep red one. Now, as you move through your day, notice how many red cars suddenly seem to appear. They were always there. Your subconscious just wasn't instructed to notice them. Life works the same way. What you dwell on expands because the subconscious, ever loyal, keeps bringing you more of what it believes you prefer. This principle also explains why change can feel uncomfortable at first. When you begin to think differently, your subconscious becomes uncertain. It assumes something is wrong because the pattern has shifted. Old emotions surface: doubt, fatigue, restlessness. These are not signs of failure, but signals that your deeper mind is updating its files. The way through is patience. Each time you repeat the new pattern, the discomfort lessens. Eventually, the subconscious adopts it as the new normal, and calm returns. Think of it like learning a new language. At first, every sentence feels awkward, each word deliberate. But soon, you start to dream in that language. The subconscious has accepted it. The same happens with belief. Repeat, "I am safe," or "I am capable," not as a demand, but as a quiet truth, and one day you'll notice that your actions already reflect it. One of the most beautiful aspects of this process is that the subconscious doesn't hold grudges. It doesn't remember how long you've struggled or how many times you've failed. It lives entirely in the present. The moment you feed it a new instruction, it listens. The past matters only if you keep retelling it. Every morning, every breath is an open door to rewrite the pattern. Over time, the autopilot becomes your ally again, guiding you effortlessly toward choices that match your new rhythm. The same mechanism that once kept you looping through fear now carries you through peace. The same reflex that once tensed your shoulders can now remind you to relax them. And perhaps the most comforting truth is this: even when the subconscious runs outdated programs, it is never your enemy. It is the part of you that tried, in its own quiet way, to keep you safe with the knowledge it had. When you teach it something better, it learns gladly. The mind's autopilot is not stubborn. It's simply waiting for new directions spoken in the language it understands: repetition, imagery, and feeling. As we drift further into the story, we'll explore what happens when this autopilot meets choice, when the conscious mind and subconscious collaborate, moment by moment, to build a new reality. For beneath every habit lies a decision made long ago, and every new decision can become the beginning of a more graceful pattern. Our quiet exploration now turns to a strange and fascinating space. The few seconds that exist between impulse and awareness, the tiny pause before you say, "I've decided." In that moment, something invisible is already at work. Long before your conscious mind claims credit for a decision, your subconscious has been preparing the path, shifting attention, releasing chemicals, setting muscles in motion. You might believe you choose freely, and you do, but the choice begins deeper than you realize. Neuroscientists once performed a simple experiment to test the timing of choice. They asked participants to press a button whenever they felt like it while watching a clock. The conscious mind believed it made the decision at a certain instant, when the person thought, "now." But when the researchers looked at the brain scans, they found something astonishing. Patterns of activity in the subconscious had started building the decision several seconds earlier. Before the participant even knew they would press the button, the deeper mind had already begun moving the body toward it. You could say that free will is not a single spark of choice, but a collaboration between layers of mind. The subconscious gathers the background, every memory, belief, and emotion, and presents an option. The conscious mind, like a narrator arriving late to the story, names it as its own. It says, "I decided," but really it agreed. This discovery doesn't mean you are a puppet of hidden forces. It means your conscious self is more like the captain of a ship guided by a crew that knows the ocean far better than you do. The subconscious charts the waves, reads the stars, and makes micro adjustments to keep the ship balanced. You, standing on deck, decide the destination. Both roles are vital. Without the captain's vision, the ship would drift. Without the crew's instinct, it would sink. You can feel this cooperation in everyday life. Think of how your hand reaches out to catch a falling glass before you even realize it's slipping, or how you sometimes pause at a street corner without knowing why, just as a car speeds past. Your subconscious is constantly scanning, interpreting light, movement, sound, and memory at speeds too quick for conscious calculation. It acts as a guardian, keeping you safe while your awareness focuses on smaller things. But this hidden decision-making doesn't stop at survival. It also shapes your preferences, your judgments, even your sense of attraction. You might walk into a room and instantly like one person or distrust another without knowing why. The subconscious has already compared their tone, body language, and micro-expressions with thousands of memories stored across a lifetime. It doesn't analyze, it recognizes. What you call intuition is this quiet process, condensed into a feeling. The conscious mind loves to take credit for these instincts, wrapping them in logic afterward. I just had a good feeling about them, or something didn't feel right. But deep down, your subconscious has done the arithmetic long before you started explaining. It adds emotional experience, past patterns, and subtle sensory input, variables too numerous for you to notice, and presents the result as a hunch. That hunch can be astonishingly accurate because it comes from a library of data far larger than the conscious mind can hold. Of course, not every instinct is flawless. Sometimes the subconscious works from outdated information. A fear that once kept you safe can now hold you back. A suspicion learned from childhood may have nothing to do with the present moment. That's why awareness matters. When you pause before reacting, you give yourself the chance to update the program. You can say, "Thank you, old instinct, but I'll handle it differently now." In that simple acknowledgement, you begin to train the subconscious to work with you, not just for you. Think of awareness as light. The subconscious is like a vast room filled with old photographs, each one capturing a memory or belief. Some are helpful, some belong to a past that no longer exists. When you bring the light of attention into that room, you don't need to destroy anything. You simply allow yourself to see what's there. Once a pattern is seen clearly, it begins to loosen its hold. The subconscious updates its records automatically, just as a library replaces outdated books with new editions. This understanding of choice has profound implications for peace of mind. It means you can stop blaming yourself for every reaction. If anger flares or fear rises, it isn't proof of failure, it's just an old reflex surfacing. When you meet it calmly, without judgment, you show your subconscious that the world has changed. Over time, the reaction softens. The moment before choice becomes wider, giving you space to respond instead of react. You can practice this widening through simple awareness. Try pausing for a heartbeat before small decisions, before answering a message, reaching for food, or speaking in frustration. Feel the quiet undercurrent that moves just before you act. That stillness is your window into the deeper mind. As you become familiar with it, you'll find that the boundary between conscious and subconscious begins to blur. Decisions start to feel more natural, more aligned, as if the two minds are no longer competing but dancing. This dance also explains the feeling of flow, those moments when action seems effortless, when writing, playing music, or solving a problem feels as natural as breathing. In flow, the conscious mind stops interrupting. It trusts the subconscious to guide the rhythm. Time stretches. Thoughts and movements sink into one smooth gesture. Athletes, artists, and scientists all describe it the same way, a merging of thought and instinct, awareness and surrender. Perhaps free will isn't about controlling the subconscious, but about cooperating with it. You don't command the river, you learn to steer with its current. The subconscious provides the momentum, the force of everything you've learned and felt. Conscious awareness provides the direction, the small adjustment of the rudder that guides you toward purpose. When they work together, life flows with less resistance. So the next time you feel torn between impulse and reason, pause for a breath. Remember that both belong to you, the lightning of instinct and the calm hand that follows it. Within that breath, between the spark and the thought, lies the moment before choice, a sacred space where possibility still waits to take shape. As we drift further into this journey, we'll explore how this partnership between conscious intention and subconscious rhythm becomes the key to healing and transformation. For if your deeper mind can prepare your choices before you're aware of them, it can also prepare your peace before you need it. The only question is whether you will trust it enough to listen. In the next step of our journey, we enter the quiet language of the subconscious, a language older than words, woven not from grammar or sound, but from pictures and feeling. It is how the deeper mind listens and how it speaks back. When you think in images, when you feel rather than explain, you are already communicating with it. The subconscious doesn't understand sentences. It understands symbols, the glow of a sunrise, the weight of a heartbeat, the warmth that rises in your chest when something feels true. You might remember the way you once dreamed as a child. There were no rules or explanations, only sensations. The wind felt like freedom. The ground breathed beneath your feet. A single thought could change the entire sky. That is the language the subconscious still speaks. It creates through imagination, and it listens through emotion. Scientists have found that when you imagine something vividly, your brain responds almost as if it were actually happening. If you picture yourself running, the same motor regions that control movement begin to activate, lighting up like soft constellations inside the skull. When you recall the taste of a favourite meal or the sound of a familiar voice, your sensory centres flicker gently, rehearsing the reality they know. This is why visualization works. It's not pretending, it's practice. The mind rehearses the act, and the body follows its lead. Think of an athlete preparing for a race. Long before stepping onto the track, they close their eyes and picture each stride. The curve of the lane, the rhythm of the breath, the sound of the crowd fading into heartbeat. By the time the real race begins, their body already knows what to do. Or think of a patient visualizing healing, imagining light flooding into the body, pain easing, energy returning. Studies show the immune system responds, releasing healing chemicals that match the image held in mind. What you imagine with emotion, the subconscious begins to build as if it were already real. Emotion is the paint that gives these images power. A picture without feeling is like a sketch without colour. The subconscious pays attention to the brightness of emotion, not the shape of words. That is why two people can say the same affirmation, "I am healthy, I am calm," and receive different results. The words are the same, but the tone is different. One might whisper it with doubt, another with trust. The subconscious listens to the trust. You can try this now, gently. Close your eyes, or simply soften your gaze. Take a slow breath in, and imagine the air entering as a soft golden light. As you exhale, picture it flowing through your body, calming every cell, like sunlight warming the surface of water. No need to force anything. Just allow the image to appear in whatever way feels natural. With each breath, imagine the light expanding a little more, reaching the tips of your fingers, the edges of your thoughts. This is not a trick, it's communication. You're sending a message to your deeper mind. This is what peace feels like. In this way, visualization becomes a conversation. You speak through images. The subconscious answers through sensation. Sometimes you'll feel warmth or a quiet pulse of ease. Sometimes nothing at all, but the message is still received. It's like planting a seed under snow. You won't see it sprout immediately, but beneath the surface, life has already begun. What you repeatedly imagine becomes the blueprint your subconscious follows. If you often picture worst-case scenarios, the body prepares for them, tightening muscles, raising the heart rate. But if you picture serenity, not just think about it, but feel it, the body begins to shift in that direction. Your subconscious learns through rehearsal. The more often you experience a feeling internally, the more naturally it arises in the outer world. This is also why certain memories feel so alive. When you recall them, your subconscious replays not the event, but the emotion it carried. The heart doesn't know the difference between a memory and a moment. Both feel immediate. The mind is always practicing something. So choose what you'd like it to rehearse. The subconscious is literal, yet poetic. Show it an image of light, and it will start to organize your energy toward clarity. show it an image of balance, and it will begin to adjust posture, breath, and even hormone flow to match that equilibrium. Every thought forms a small pattern in the brain. Every feeling adds texture, and repetition turns these patterns into lasting pathways. But unlike rigid formulas, this process is gentle. It happens through softness, not force. The more you enjoy the image, the more easily the subconscious adopts it. If words are instructions, emotions are permission. You cannot command the deeper mind to change, you can only invite it. That is why rituals, prayer, and meditation across cultures often use imagery. Water for cleansing, fire for transformation, light for understanding. The subconscious speaks fluently in metaphor. When you imagine washing your hands of worry or stepping into sunlight after a storm, it understands the message and adjusts your inner chemistry accordingly. Even art and music work in this way. A painting can soothe or disturb, not because of what it depicts, but because of the feelings it awakens beneath logic. A melody can heal because it bypasses thought entirely, reaching the subconscious directly through vibration. The same principle applies to your own imagination. Every image, every tone you create inside your mind is a brushstroke on the canvas of your reality. So tonight, or any night, when you lie in bed and close your eyes, you might give your subconscious something gentle to work with. Imagine yourself surrounded by quiet light. Not a spotlight, but a soft glow like the last warmth of sunset. Let it move through you like calm water. Don't try to believe it. Just feel it, however slightly. That feeling is the signal. The more you speak to your subconscious in its native tongue, imagery, emotion, rhythm, the more it begins to understand what you truly want. You are, in essence, teaching it a new melody. And when the deeper mind hums that tune long enough, it begins to change the body, the behavior, and even the world around you. As we drift further into this story, we'll explore how this communication deepens in the twilight before sleep, how the border between waking and dreaming becomes a kind of open gate where the subconscious listens most closely. For now, you might carry one small thought with you. Every image you hold is a seed, and every feeling is the water that helps it grow. And somewhere within that quiet garden of imagination, your deeper self is already waiting, listening, and beginning to shape the world according to the language only it can hear. From here, the path opens gently toward one of the most mysterious states of all, the borderland between waking and sleep. It is a space where the mind loosens its grip, where logic grows soft around the edges, and where the subconscious begins to rise to the surface like a tide coming in. Scientists call this the theta state, but we might think of it simply as the twilight of the mind, a quiet gate between the conscious and the infinite. Each night you pass through this threshold without noticing. It happens in the minutes when your thoughts begin to blur, when sentences lose their endings and images begin to drift in on their own. The body becomes heavy, yet the mind feels light. In this gentle rhythm, about 4 to 7 pulses per second, slower than a resting heartbeat, the brain hums in waves that open the door to the subconscious. It's neither fully awake nor fully asleep, but somewhere beautifully in between. In this state, the deeper mind is most receptive. The conscious barriers that normally filter information are relaxed. Doubt, logic, and analysis fade into the background. This is why the moments before sleep and the moments just after waking are so powerful. Whatever you tell yourself in that drowsy space tends to slip past resistance and sink directly into the subconscious, like a pebble falling through still water. Most people unknowingly use this time to plant confusion. They replay worries from the day, argue silently with memories, or scroll through images that stir unease. The subconscious, loyal as always, takes these impressions as instructions. It assumes, this is what you wish to rehearse tonight, and begins weaving those feelings into dreams. But you can change that script, not by force, but through gentleness. You can feed your deeper mind peace instead of fear, healing instead of doubt. Before sleep, the mind listens for tone. So when you whisper to yourself softly, "I am safe, I am healing," the subconscious doesn't judge the words. It listens to the comfort behind them. If you say it as a lullaby rather than a command, it becomes far more powerful. The tone of your own voice carries through the nervous system, calming the heart, slowing the breath, preparing the body to rest. This is suggestion in its simplest form, a collaboration between feeling and intention. You might think of it as sleep priming, a way of setting the emotional temperature of the night. Just as a musician tunes their instrument before a performance, you tune your subconscious before it dreams. The image you fall asleep with becomes the theme of the night's work, and the subconscious, tireless even while you sleep, will keep composing around that theme, integrating it into the body's rhythms and the mind's beliefs. Try it tonight, perhaps. When you're lying in bed and the room begins to grow still, choose one gentle phrase, something small, believable, kind. It could be, "My body knows how to rest," or "Tomorrow will unfold with ease." Repeat it softly, not counting the words but letting them blend with your breath. Feel the sentence melt into rhythm. As you drift, let the words fade until only the feeling remains. That feeling becomes the message your subconscious carries into the night. Visualization can also be part of this process. Imagine as you breathe that each exhale releases the day, every thought, every worry, drifting away like paper boats on a slow river. With each inhale, imagine calm light entering your chest, spreading warmth through your limbs. You don't need to picture it clearly. Even a vague sense of glow is enough. The subconscious doesn't require detail. It understands emotion and intention. Some people use sound to guide this transition. A quiet hum, ocean waves, or a voice speaking affirmations in the background. These gentle sounds help synchronize the brain's rhythm to the slower waves of relaxation. You might think of them as soft music for the cells. The subconscious absorbs rhythm more deeply than words. That's why lullabies soothe children before they understand language. The melody itself is the message. At the same time, light plays a role. As the room darkens, the brain releases melatonin, signaling the body to rest. You can deepen this process by dimming lights an hour before sleep, letting your senses unwind gradually. To the subconscious, darkness is not emptiness, it's invitation. It's the canvas on which dreams are painted. Sleep is not the absence of activity, it's transformation. During the night, the subconscious reviews the events of the day, organizes memories, repairs tissues, balances hormones, and resets the emotional system. Dreams are its language of processing. When you dream of running, you're not just recalling movement. Your body is integrating adrenaline and release. When you dream of flying, it's a symbolic rehearsal of freedom, an echo of your wish to rise above weight. Even nightmares are attempts to bring unresolved fear to light. Nothing is wasted. Everything is integrated. When you begin to guide your thoughts before sleep, you become a co-author of this nightly process. You're no longer at the mercy of random impressions. You're collaborating with your subconscious in writing the next chapter of your emotional life. Over time, this gentle practice rewires more than just the night. It changes the tone of your mornings too. You wake not with dread or rush, but with a quiet sense of readiness, as though peace has been practicing overnight. Many ancient traditions recognize this borderland as sacred. They called it the Gate of Dreams, the veil between worlds, or the twilight of the gods. Today we call it theta, but the mystery remains the same. It is the hour when consciousness and creation mingle freely, when you're both the dreamer and the dream. If you ever have trouble sleeping, remember that the goal isn't to force yourself to rest. Sleep is not a task, it's a surrender. The more you chase it, the further it runs. But if you create the conditions, a calm breath, a kind thought, a soft image. It arrives naturally, like dusk blending into night. So tonight, before you close your eyes, give your deeper mind something gentle to work on. A simple image, perhaps, a candle that never flickers, or the feeling of floating in warm water, or the sound of distant rain. Let that be the last impression before you drift. The subconscious will take it from there, carrying it into the quiet workshop where dreams shape reality. As we drift further into this story, we'll explore how intention and surrender come together in what Joseph Murphy called scientific prayer, a way of aligning thought, feeling, and faith into a single creative act. But for now, as you lie between waking and sleep, remember, the subconscious listens best when the conscious grows quiet. And in that stillness, the universe itself seems to lean in, waiting to dream with you. As we drift further into the story, we arrive at a meeting point between science and faith, a quiet space where intention becomes creation and thought turns into form. Joseph Murphy called this practice scientific prayer, though the word scientific here doesn't mean equations or experiments. It means precise, repeatable, and aligned with natural law. In this practice, you're not begging a distant power for help. You're working in harmony with the deeper intelligence that already lives within you. Murphy described prayer as communication with the subconscious, or what he called the infinite mind. Every time you form an image in your mind with emotion and faith, you're setting this deeper mechanism in motion. It is the same principle we've been exploring, thought and feeling as creative forces, but now expressed as a living ritual. To make it simple, he offered 5 steps: relaxation, recognition, declaration, embodiment, and release. These steps are not rigid instructions, but gentle stages of alignment, like the gradual settling of sand in clear water. The first step is relaxation, stilling the conscious mind. You begin by letting go of tension, both physical and mental. Find a position where the body can rest without effort, maybe lying down or sitting with your spine softly straight. Breathe slowly. Feel the breath settle into its natural rhythm. The muscles of the face, the hands, the chest, all soften. In this state, the conscious mind becomes quiet and the subconscious begins to listen. You could imagine this moment as clouds clearing from the sky. The light of awareness starts to shine through, unobstructed. The second step is recognition, acknowledging the infinite mind within. Here, you remind yourself that the creative power you seek isn't outside you. It is the same intelligence that beats your heart, repairs your cells, and turns seeds into trees. Some call it nature, others call it spirit, but it is one quiet rhythm underlying all things. You might think of it as a great ocean of consciousness, with your individual mind as a single wave upon its surface. Recognition simply means remembering your connection to that ocean. The third step is declaration, forming the desired image. Once calm and connected, you speak to your subconscious through imagery. Imagine what you desire as though it is already real, not something to be begged for, but something to be experienced. If you seek healing, picture yourself whole, walking with strength, breathing freely. If you seek peace, see yourself moving through the day with unshakable calm. Make the scene vivid but gentle, as though you're watching a movie of your life working perfectly. The subconscious responds best when the image feels natural, not forced. The fourth step is emotional embodiment, feeling it as already real. Here lies the true power. The subconscious listens to emotion far more than words. So after forming your image, let yourself feel what it would be like if it were already true. How would your shoulders relax? How would your breathing change? What quiet joy would move through your chest? This feeling is not imagination. It is the signal. Every cell begins to align with it. Scientists now understand that emotion alters biochemistry, shifting hormones, neurotransmitters, even the immune system. When you feel peace, the body translates it into real chemical balance. The prayer becomes physical. And finally, the fifth step is release, letting it go in faith. Once you've planted the image and felt its truth, you release it. You don't keep asking for it. You trust that the deeper mind is already working on it. This is the hardest step for many, the art of allowing. You might think of it like planting a seed and walking away knowing the soil will do its job. You don't dig it up each day to see if it's growing. You water it with quiet confidence. Murphy often said, "The subconscious will bring it to pass in the best possible way." When these 5 steps merge, prayer becomes less about asking and more about remembering. You're remembering that the power to create harmony, health, and joy is already part of you. Not a distant miracle, but a natural extension of consciousness. Let's imagine a simple example. Perhaps you wish to overcome fear. You could begin at night, lying in bed, and whisper to yourself, "I am safe now." Then picture a warm light surrounding you. Not blinding, but soft, like the colour of dawn. Feel that light on your skin. Feel the body unclench. As you do, the nervous system receives the message, danger has passed. The subconscious translates this image into lowered stress hormones, steadier heart rate, slower breath. You have spoken to it in the language it understands, image and emotion. Prayer, then, becomes a kind of inner science, a repeatable experiment in peace. The variables are simple: clarity of image, sincerity of feeling, and consistency of practice. Over time, results appear not as sudden miracles, but as subtle shifts. Meetings that unfold easily, illnesses that heal faster, moments of intuition that guide you toward better choices. These are not coincidences. They are the visible ripples of the subconscious aligning with your chosen pattern. This process doesn't demand perfection. The subconscious doesn't require flawless belief, only direction. Even a small spark of faith is enough to begin. Think of a candle lighting another. The flame doesn't have to be large to share its warmth. When you release your image in trust, the deeper mind amplifies it, carrying it through the unseen corridors of creation. And when doubt returns, as it always does, treat it kindly. Don't scold yourself for questioning. Instead, remind yourself that the subconscious is still learning your new language. Each repetition strengthens the message. You might even whisper, "I trust that this is unfolding, even if I can't yet see how." The subconscious hears the trust more clearly than the words. At its heart, scientific prayer is not about convincing the universe to act on your behalf. It's about aligning yourself with a rhythm that the universe already moves to. It's cooperation, not command. The same energy that grows forests and forms stars flows through you, responding to your tone and focus. When you align with that flow, prayer becomes less about reaching upward and more about settling inward, finding the still point where everything begins. So tonight, if you wish, you can try this quiet ritual. As you lie down, breathe out the weight of the day. Whisper your intention once, clearly and softly. Picture it as complete. Feel it as real. Then let it drift away like a small boat on calm water. Sleep will carry it to the deeper mind, where it will be tended to in silence. And perhaps that is the truest prayer. Not words, but surrender. Not reaching, but resting. For in the stillness, where asking ends, the subconscious begins its gentle work. And in that space between effort and ease, you may find what you were seeking was never far at all. The path now carries us inward again, not into thought, but into feeling. We've spoken about planting new ideas in the subconscious, about aligning thought and emotion toward creation. But before a garden can flourish, sometimes the old soil must be turned. This session is about that quiet, necessary work, clearing the space within. Every emotion you've ever felt has left a trace somewhere in the body. Some pass through freely, like clouds across a blue sky. Others linger, settling deep into the nervous system folded between breaths, muscles, and memories. The subconscious, loyal and gentle, keeps them safe, believing they still serve a purpose. A fear from childhood might still tighten your chest during conflict. An old disappointment might whisper into your dreams that you should expect less just to stay safe. These patterns are not punishments, they're unfinished stories. Emotional house cleaning simply means letting them complete their journey. When an emotion is ignored, it doesn't disappear, it waits. The body holds it like a letter never delivered. You might recognize this in the sudden wave of sadness that has no name, or the tension that returns to the same spot each day. Your deeper mind is reminding you that something once needed to be heard. Forgiveness, release, gratitude. These are the tools we use to open the envelope. Begin gently. Find a quiet space. Breathe in and let the air reach all the way down, as though you're dusting the corners of the lungs. Exhale slowly. Then think of a moment in your life that still feels heavy, not to relive it, but to acknowledge it. Picture yourself at that time, the version of you who didn't yet know what you know now. Look at them as you would look at a child who has been carrying a burden too long. The subconscious doesn't respond well to scolding, but it opens instantly to compassion. Say to that younger self quietly within, "You did your best. You don't have to hold this anymore." You might even imagine taking that feeling, fear, guilt, anger, into your hands as a small trembling light and then letting it dissolve into breath. The moment you feel even a flicker of softening, that's healing beginning. The subconscious receives the message, the danger is past. Scientists have found that when you recall a memory while feeling safe, the brain rewrites that memory with new chemistry. It doesn't erase the event, it changes the emotional signature. The fear that was once paired with it can now be replaced with understanding. This is neuroplasticity at work, but you don't need to know the term. Think of it instead as emotional editing, the mind rewriting its own history with a kinder pen. Forgiveness plays a large role in this, and forgiveness doesn't mean saying what happened was right. It means releasing the emotional cord that keeps you tied to it. When you forgive someone, or even yourself, you stop carrying their shadow inside your nervous system. The body relaxes, the heart rate steadies, digestion improves, the immune system lightens its load. It's as if the entire physiology whispers, "We can stop guarding now." You can feel this in real time. When anger softens, breath deepens. When grief loosens, the shoulders drop. The subconscious measures forgiveness not in words but in the body's ease. That's why even a single sigh can mean more than an hour of analysis. The sigh says, "I'm safe to let go." Gratitude is another gentle cleanser. When you focus on something you appreciate, even something small like the texture of the sheets or the rhythm of your breath, the body produces calming hormones. The subconscious, attuned to this state, begins to associate safety with openness instead of control. Over time, gratitude rewires emotional memory. It teaches the deeper mind that life can be trusted again. If you like, you can create a simple nightly ritual, a kind of emotional cleaning before sleep. Keep a journal beside your bed. Write one line about what you want to let go of, and one about what you're grateful for. Don't worry about eloquence. The subconscious understands sincerity, not poetry. Then close the notebook and say, "This is enough for today." In doing so, you're signaling completion. You're telling your deeper mind that the day's story can end peacefully. Mirror work can help too. Stand before a mirror and meet your own eyes even for a few seconds. You might notice resistance, embarrassment, discomfort. That's normal. The subconscious often hides behind these reactions, but stay long enough to breathe once or twice. Whisper something kind, something simple like, "I'm learning to care for you." The mind may argue, but the body will listen. Over time, this act rewrites self-image from the inside out. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between external care and internal care. When you speak kindly to yourself, it hears, "I am safe." When you touch your chest gently, it hears, "I am home." These small gestures may seem insignificant, but they are the language of reprogramming, the way the deeper mind updates its old instructions. If emotion arises while doing this work, tears, laughter, even numbness, let it come. Emotion is energy moving at last. Picture it as the sound of a house breathing after long silence. Every sigh, every tremor is a sign of life returning to spaces once closed. Sometimes release comes through stillness, other times through movement. A walk, a stretch, a quiet cry can all serve as acts of cleaning. The subconscious learns through experience, not theory. It trusts what it feels more than what it's told. So when you breathe through discomfort instead of running from it, it records that memory. We survived, and it was safe to feel. Over time, this gentle maintenance becomes second nature. You start to notice emotions earlier, before they harden. You speak to yourself with patience instead of blame. Old fears that once shouted now appear only as faint echoes, easy to recognize, easy to soothe. The subconscious learns new reflexes, calm instead of panic, curiosity instead of judgment. In a way, emotional house cleaning is the art of listening. Beneath every difficult feeling is a message that was never heard. When you finally listen, the feeling no longer needs to repeat itself. It can rest. And when the mind rests, the body follows. As we drift further into this story, the journey will widen again, from the personal to the universal. We'll explore how your subconscious, once cleared of old noise, becomes a receiver for something greater: intuition, creativity, and connection to the vast field of consciousness that surrounds us all. But before we go there, take a moment to breathe and notice how much lighter you already feel. The quiet hum of a mind beginning to let go, a home finally opening its windows to the fresh air of peace. From here, the story opens wider than before, from the quiet room of the self to something vaster, like stepping outside and realizing the sky has no walls. You've already met the subconscious as a loyal friend, a gardener, a musician of emotion. Now we'll meet it as something even greater, not just a personal mind, but a doorway into an intelligence that seems to move through everything. Dolores Cannon called this the higher self, the part of you that knows everything about you, beyond time or memory. Modern science might describe it differently as a universal field of consciousness, but both point toward the same idea, that individual minds are waves on one vast ocean. Imagine that ocean for a moment. Each wave rises and falls, carrying its own rhythm, its own reflection of light. Yet beneath the surface, all are part of the same body of water. What touches one wave eventually moves through all. In the same way, the subconscious is not sealed inside your skull. It is connected through emotion and awareness to every other living mind. This connection doesn't require belief. It's as natural as gravity, as quiet as breath. Physicists once spoke of an invisible web that links all matter, a field where particles exchange energy faster than we can measure. You don't need to know the equations to feel it. You can sense it every time someone's mood changes the atmosphere of a room. When someone near you is calm, you relax without thinking. When they're anxious, your body tightens in sympathy. These are small ripples in the larger field, proof that communication is happening below words. Cannon's work suggested that the subconscious can access this field directly. Through deep hypnosis, she guided people into states where their personal mind grew quiet, and another voice emerged, calm, wise, compassionate, answering questions their waking self could never have known. Sometimes this inner voice revealed the root cause of illness. Sometimes it described experiences between lifetimes. Sometimes it simply reminded the person that they were loved and guided. Whether you interpret these sessions as literal journeys or symbolic expressions doesn't matter. What matters is the evidence of an intelligence beyond the limits of ordinary awareness, one that seeks healing, balance, and understanding. We see traces of the same phenomenon everywhere. Artists often speak of inspiration arriving as if from elsewhere, a melody heard in sleep, an image that paints itself. Scientists describe moments of sudden insight, ideas appearing whole, unforced. Edison once said he would drift between wake and sleep with a steel ball in his hand. When it dropped, the sound would wake him just as he entered that borderland state, and often the idea he was seeking would appear in that instant. It is in that in-between space, the twilight of consciousness, that the personal mind touches the universal. You might have experienced something similar, thinking of a friend just before they call, dreaming of a place before visiting it, knowing the answer to a question without knowing how you know. The subconscious, connected to this greater field, can gather information beyond the linear flow of time. It's as if it listens across a wider frequency range, tuning into patterns too subtle for the conscious mind to detect. And yet, this isn't as mystical as it sounds. The deeper mind operates through sensitivity, through resonance. Just as one tuning fork begins to vibrate when another of the same note is struck, your subconscious resonates with energy and emotion around you. When you feel empathy, intuition, or even sudden calm in someone's presence, you're experiencing this resonance directly. In this way, the subconscious is both personal and universal, a local expression of a global consciousness. It holds your private memories and feelings, but it also belongs to the network of all life. Some traditions describe this as the Akashic field, others as divine mind, others simply as unity. Science, in its own language, hints at it through quantum entanglement and information theory, ideas suggesting that everything, even space itself, may be woven from invisible threads of data. But you don't need formulas to experience it. You experience it every time your intuition saves you a wrong turn, or when silence itself seems to offer comfort. If you'd like to sense this connection now, try a small experiment. Sit quietly and bring your attention to the center of your chest. Breathe slowly, as though the heart itself were breathing. With each exhale, imagine your awareness expanding a little, first beyond your body, then the room, then the city, until it feels as though you are floating within the vastness of space. There's no need to picture stars or planets, simply sense the spaciousness. Then imagine that within this vastness there is a gentle pulse, one slow rhythm that matches your heartbeat. You're not separate from the rhythm, you're part of it. This simple awareness exercise mirrors what Cannon's subjects described, that beneath the noise of individuality there is a calm field where all minds meet. It is not a place of words or images, but of direct knowing, an understanding that feels like peace itself. Some who reach this state describe it as meeting their higher self. Others call it merging with the divine. Whatever the name, the feeling is the same: relief, recognition, and a sense of homecoming. And this field, once touched, can heal. When you quiet your thoughts and rest in that awareness, your body begins to reorganize. The nervous system slows, the heart synchronizes, immune and hormonal systems balance. It's as if the body remembers its original template, its natural state of harmony. Healing in this sense is not adding something new but removing interference, letting the universal intelligence flow freely again. This may be why meditation, prayer, and even simple gratitude have measurable effects on health. They're all ways of aligning personal energy with the larger field. Gratitude especially seems to act as a tuning fork, bringing the mind into resonance with the frequencies of abundance and well-being. When you feel grateful, your heart rhythm becomes more coherent, and that coherence ripples through the body like music restoring order. If this sounds poetic, it's because the experience itself is poetry, a felt understanding that the universe is alive, conscious and responsive. You can call it God, source, field, or simply the quiet behind all things. The name doesn't change the presence. What matters is the relationship you form with it through stillness, curiosity, and trust. So, when life feels heavy, remember that you are not an isolated spark flickering against an indifferent sky. You're a wave in a luminous ocean that never stops moving through you. When you close your eyes and breathe, you return to that sea. When you love, when you forgive, when you imagine gently, the surface stills and the connection becomes clear again. Perhaps that is what all wisdom traditions have been trying to remind us, that the mind is not confined to the skull, and that to reach higher understanding, you don't have to travel outward at all. You simply have to become quiet enough to feel the current already flowing beneath your thoughts. As we drift further into the story, we'll explore how this universal current expresses itself through creativity, how ideas emerge from silence, how flow carries us, and how inspiration might just be the universe thinking through us. But for now, let this thought rest in you. Your subconscious is not just yours. It is a doorway into everything. And in every moment of stillness, that door stands open, waiting for you to step through. If we follow the thread a little further, we find that the same universal current that connects all minds also moves quietly through moments of creativity. It is the invisible breath behind every song, every poem, every idea that seems to arrive from nowhere. People call it inspiration, but the word itself means something very physical, to breathe in. And perhaps that's what it really is, breathing in the rhythm of the universe and letting it take form through you. We often think of creativity as effort, as sitting down to invent, to push something out of ourselves. But true inspiration feels effortless. It comes when the conscious mind steps aside, when thought becomes quiet enough for the deeper mind to speak. This is what psychologists call flow, but you don't need the term to know the feeling. It's the state where time disappears, where your actions and awareness merge, and where the work seems to do itself. You may have experienced it while painting, writing, dancing, cooking, or even speaking with someone and losing track of hours. The mind isn't forcing, it's following. There's a smoothness, a rightness, as though every step knows the next before you do. In that moment, the subconscious takes the lead, drawing from its vast library of memories, sensations, and intuition. It organizes movement, thought, and emotion with the precision of an orchestra, and you, the conscious self, simply listen to the music. Neuroscientists studying this state have found that certain regions of the brain actually become quieter during flow. The area responsible for self-criticism and doubt, the voice that says, "This isn't good enough," begins to dim. At the same time, other regions associated with pattern recognition and creativity light up, forming new connections. But you don't need to imagine brain scans. You can feel it when it happens. Your breathing slows, the edges of the world blur, and what you're doing becomes the only thing that exists. It's in this rhythm that some of the greatest discoveries and works of art have been born. Archimedes found his famous insight not in a laboratory, but while sinking into a bath. The word eureka, "I have found it," wasn't shouted from analysis, but from surrender. He had been wrestling with a problem, then relaxed, and in that release the answer surfaced, like a bubble rising through water. Einstein once said that his best ideas came not from thought, but from imagination, from visualizing himself riding a beam of light and watching the universe unfold around him. These moments weren't miracles, they were cooperation with the subconscious. When you are relaxed and curious, the deeper mind begins to organize thoughts behind the scenes, connecting pieces that seem unrelated. It keeps working long after you stop trying. That's why ideas often appear while showering, walking, or just before sleep. Times when your conscious control softens and the subconscious can bring its quiet order forward. This period of unseen work is what scientists call incubation. The deeper mind never stops weaving. It simply waits for the noise to fade before showing you the tapestry. You can cultivate this flow deliberately. Begin by setting a clear intention, not a demand, but an invitation. For example, I'd like a solution to this problem, or I want to understand this painting. Then walk away. Do something repetitive and gentle. Wash dishes, fold clothes, take a walk beneath trees. As your body moves, the subconscious begins aligning. When you least expect it, an idea will arrive whole, as if it has been waiting for your permission. This cooperation between effort and ease is how creation truly happens. The conscious mind gathers the materials, knowledge, skill, structure, and the subconscious arranges them into meaning. It's like cooking with the ingredients of experience while letting the recipe write itself. Too much control burns the meal, too little direction, and it never cooks at all. The art lies in trusting the heat, the gentle balance between focus and freedom. In the brain, this dance is supported by something called the default mode network, a soft background hum that activates when the mind daydreams. It's not idle, it's integrating. When you let your thoughts drift, when you stare out a window or watch clouds change shape, that network connects distant ideas and memories, finding hidden relationships between them. You could say that the mind, left to wander kindly, is its most intelligent. Artists and scientists, mystics and mathematicians all share this rhythm. They alternate between focus and surrender, work and rest. Inspiration thrives in contrast, like night giving meaning to day. The conscious mind plants the seed of curiosity, and the subconscious in silence grows it into revelation. If you want to feel this state more often, create space for it. You don't have to paint or compose music. Flow appears whenever you do something that absorbs your attention gently. Gardening, cooking, playing an instrument, walking a familiar path, all are doorways. The key is immersion without pressure. The more you enjoy the process, the more easily the subconscious can participate. When flow arises, notice its texture. Time softens. The sense of self loosens, as though you're being breathed rather than breathing. Thought turns liquid, and you begin to sense that creation isn't happening through you, but as you. This is the universal current moving freely, the same field we touched in the previous session, now taking form as motion, colour and sound. You might even see life itself as a long, unfolding act of co-creation between you and this deeper intelligence. Every thought is a brushstroke, every choice a note in the song. When you follow inspiration without fear, you align yourself with that rhythm. When you resist, when you tighten, the current simply waits for you to relax again. To practice, you can try this simple meditation. Close your eyes and picture yourself as a small stream joining a larger river. Feel the gentle pull of that current, the way it carries you forward without struggle. Then imagine lifting your hands and saying, "Show me what wants to flow through me today." Don't think, just listen. Sometimes the answer will be silence, and that's fine. Silence itself is a form of inspiration. Over time, you'll begin to notice that the line between ordinary moments and creative ones starts to blur. Doing the dishes, you find a rhythm in the sound of water. Driving, you hear a melody in the hum of the engine. Talking, you say something you didn't plan, yet it feels exactly right. That is the universe thinking through you, the subconscious and the infinite working together wordlessly. As we drift deeper into this journey, we'll follow this thread of intuition, how the deeper mind translates all its vast awareness into guidance, how it becomes a compass you can feel rather than see. For now, take comfort in knowing that inspiration is not rare or random. It is the natural language of a mind in harmony with the universe. You don't need to chase it, you only need to listen and breathe it in. From this point, the story turns inward again, to the quiet guidance that moves beneath thought, that small tug in the chest, the sudden knowing, the gentle yes or no that often arrives before you have time to reason it out. We call it intuition, but it is more like a compass made of feeling. It doesn't speak in words, yet somehow it always points toward what matters most. The subconscious gathers far more information than the conscious mind could ever hold. Every colour, sound, expression and memory you've encountered becomes a note in its vast orchestra. When faced with a choice, the deeper mind compares millions of such notes in less than a heartbeat. It detects subtle patterns, vibrations and histories, and translates the result not into logic but into emotion. The mind says, "I don't know why, but this feels right." That feeling is the signal, the needle turning on the inner compass. Scientists who study decision-making have found that the body often reacts before the brain consciously identifies a pattern. In some experiments, people's palms began to sweat a few seconds before they realized a situation was risky. The subconscious recognized the pattern of danger long before the conscious mind could explain it. You might think of this as wisdom in fast motion, instinct refined by years of experience, working at the speed of light. But intuition is not only a warning system, it's also a quiet teacher. It nudges you toward opportunities, people and paths that resonate with your deeper purpose. It doesn't shout or demand. It whispers through ease. When something is right for you, the body relaxes, time feels abundant, breathing slows. When something is off, you feel contraction, tension, restlessness, or an inexplicable drain of energy. The trick is learning to listen before the conscious mind starts arguing. In a world that prizes analysis, intuition can seem untrustworthy, too soft, too abstract. Yet history is full of lives guided by it. Great inventors, explorers and healers often describe just knowing what to do next. They follow hunches that lead to discovery. Even in everyday life, intuition shapes countless small decisions: when to call someone, which route to take home, when to speak, and when to stay silent. It is your subconscious quietly steering through the complexity of the world, like a sailor reading currents beneath the waves. To strengthen this compass, you must give it quiet. The subconscious can't be heard over the noise of constant thought. It speaks in the space between breaths. You can begin by noticing small signals: the tightening of your stomach, the warmth that rises when something feels true, the chill that creeps in when something feels wrong. These are not random sensations. They are the body's way of translating the deeper mind's calculations. Try this simple practice. Take a few slow breaths and bring to mind a decision you've been unsure about. Don't analyze it. Just imagine saying yes to it and notice how your body responds. Then imagine saying no. The reaction will be immediate and subtle, a slight lightness or heaviness, or a change in breathing. That is intuition speaking. The subconscious doesn't send long messages, it sends sensations. Over time, as you trust these cues, they become clearer, like learning to read the wind on your face. The deeper mind also uses dreams to offer guidance. When the conscious mind sleeps, intuition can speak more freely, weaving advice through symbols. A bridge might mean transition, water might mean emotion, flight might mean release. The specific language is personal, drawn from your own experiences. If a dream feels vivid or emotionally charged, write it down before the details fade. The subconscious loves to communicate through metaphor. It knows you understand images better than arguments. Empathy, too, is a form of intuition. When you sense another person's mood without a word spoken, It's your subconscious reading countless signals, tone, rhythm, micro-expressions, even slight electrical changes in the air between bodies. Mirror neurons in the brain allow you to feel what others feel, as if you were living their experience for a heartbeat. This is why a yawn spreads through a crowd, or why a room feels lighter when someone laughs. Emotions are contagious because the subconscious minds of people are constantly exchanging information beneath awareness. If you cultivate calm within yourself, you become a transmitter of calm to others. Your presence can steady a space without you saying a thing. It's not mystical, it's resonance. Every nervous system seeks coherence, and when yours settles into peace, others unconsciously attune to it. This is intuition in action, communication without conversation. There's also another kind of intuitive knowing, one that feels as though it comes from beyond your personal experience. Moments when answers arrive that you couldn't possibly have reasoned out. Some call this divine insight, others collective intelligence. Perhaps it's both. If the subconscious is connected to the wider field of consciousness, then intuition is the thread that links you to it, the quiet bridge between the finite and the infinite. But like all bridges, it must be maintained. Fear and hurry can cloud intuition, while stillness and trust clarify it. The subconscious doesn't compete for attention, it waits for invitation. When you rush, you disconnect from its rhythm. When you pause, even briefly, it responds. There's a story of a musician who, before every concert, sat alone for a few minutes backstage, not to practice, but to listen inwardly. He said he was waiting for the music to find him. He understood that intuition is not something you summon. It's something you receive when you become quiet enough to hear it. If you want to live more intuitively, practice noticing the subtle rather than the obvious. Pay attention to the first flicker of feeling before thought interferes. Keep a small notebook for intuitive moments. Times you followed a quiet nudge and it proved right, or when you ignored it and learned why. Writing them down tells the subconscious that you value its guidance, and it will speak more often. You may find that the more you listen, the more life begins to arrange itself in surprising harmony. You meet the right people at the right time, stumble into answers you weren't looking for, or feel inexplicably protected in situations that could have gone wrong. These are the signs of an inner compass well tuned. Not magical, just deeply human. Intuition doesn't promise that life will be without difficulty, but it does promise direction, a sense that even when the path turns unexpectedly, you are still being guided. You might think of it as walking through fog with a lantern. You can't see far ahead, but you can always see the next few steps, and somehow that's enough. Our exploration now begins to widen again, from the guidance of individual intuition to something even larger. The shared mind we all swim within, the subtle network that links every living being. For if intuition connects you to your own deeper self, then empathy connects you to everyone else. And within that shared connection, a new understanding begins to form, that healing yourself may be one of the quietest ways to heal the world. The story now widens into something that feels both intimate and immense, the invisible threads that connect every mind, every heart, every living thing. You can sense it sometimes in small ways. When you think of someone and they write to you the same day, when an idea spreads quietly across the world without coordination, or when an entire crowd breathes and moves as one. It's the sense that consciousness isn't a collection of separate lanterns, but one great light shining through many windows. Psychologist Carl Jung called this vast interior landscape the collective unconscious, a deep reservoir of symbols and memories shared by all humankind. Long before we spoke in words, we dreamed in these symbols. The mother, the journey, the shadow, the sun. Each culture gave them its own names, but the feelings beneath them were the same. Jung believed that our personal subconscious rises from this collective sea, like a wave carrying the patterns of all who came before. Dolores Cannon, decades later, found echoes of this truth in her hypnosis work. People from different countries, languages, and lives would describe strikingly similar experiences when entering the deepest levels of trance. Visions of light, voices of wisdom, stories of oneness. You don't need to accept every detail of those stories to feel the truth inside them. The shared subconscious doesn't require belief. It shows itself in everyday life. Think of the way laughter spreads through a room, how yawns ripple from person to person, or how tension in one individual can subtly change the mood of everyone nearby. On a biological level, mirror neurons make this possible. Cells that reflect what we see, causing us to feel what another feels. But even beyond biology, there's something more, an emotional resonance that seems to flow across invisible space. You can feel it in moments of collective joy, like singing with strangers at a concert, or standing among thousands watching fireworks when the crowd gasps in perfect unison. For that heartbeat of time, individuality dissolves. You're not one person in a sea of faces. You are the sea itself, moving, aware, alive. The subconscious thrives on this connection. It recognizes that safety and belonging are not luxuries. They are biological necessities. When we feel connected, our bodies release calming chemicals, our hearts beat more evenly, our immune systems strengthen. To be understood is to be healed. The same principle explains the mystery of ideas appearing in multiple places at once. Inventions, songs, discoveries born in different minds simultaneously. Perhaps thoughts themselves are not private but part of a shared field, and when enough people reach a certain level of curiosity, the idea rises into awareness everywhere at once, like mist appearing from the ocean. The subconscious, being part of that field, senses these shifts. It's why artists across the world may paint similar symbols without ever meeting, and why languages thousands of miles apart share words for the same emotions. We're not as separate as we appear. Sometimes this connection reveals itself in more intimate ways, through synchronicities, those small coincidences that seem too meaningful to be random. You think of a phrase and the same words appear on a billboard. You hum a forgotten melody and it plays moments later in a cafe. The rational mind might shrug, but the subconscious recognizes these as echoes, small ripples between your inner world and the wider field. It's as if reality too is listening, reflecting your energy back to you in gentle confirmations. This shared mind also holds our collective wounds, the fear of scarcity, the instinct for competition, the grief of history. These emotional patterns still circulate within the field, influencing behavior in ways we don't always see. When one person heals a personal fear, it may seem like a private event, but on a deeper level, that vibration changes the frequency of the whole. Peace spreads quietly, just as stress does. A single calm presence can steady a family, a workplace, a community. Imagine for a moment that consciousness is like a vast body of water. Each thought and emotion you create sends ripples outward. Some are small, fading within moments. Others travel far, touching distant shores. When you cultivate peace inside yourself, you're not only soothing your own waters, you're softening the waves of the entire ocean. The effect might be invisible, but it is never lost. There's a story of a meditation experiment done in a large city. For a few days, groups of people meditated together with the intention of peace. During those times, records showed small but measurable decreases in crime and conflict. The numbers returned to normal after they stopped. You can debate the details, but the essence remains. Collective calm changes collective behavior. The subconscious of humanity responds to harmony the way a body responds to music. Each of us carries this responsibility and this gift. You don't need to preach or persuade to change the world. Every act of kindness, every breath of patience, every quiet forgiveness alters the atmosphere of the shared mind. Your calm becomes someone else's comfort. Your peace becomes a place others can rest in. The subconscious, after all, is a network of feeling. It responds not to argument, but to resonance. You can experience this connection in small daily ways. When you smile sincerely at a stranger, notice how often their body responds before their mind. A slight lift of the shoulders, a spark in the eyes. That is the shared subconscious at work, transmitting emotion faster than language. When you hold someone's hand in silence during sorrow, your nervous systems synchronize, heartbeats aligning in compassion. These are not poetic exaggerations, they are measurable exchanges of rhythm and energy. And beyond the measurable, there is meaning, the felt truth that we belong to one another. So when the world feels fractured, remember that separation is only the illusion of the surface. Beneath it, the field remains whole. Just as waves crash and reform, but the sea itself is never broken, human consciousness moves through cycles of chaos and calm, but its essence is unity. Healing yourself, clearing anger, cultivating peace, practicing empathy, is an act of service to the entire sea. You might think of this every time you breathe intentionally, every time you forgive, every time you choose kindness over reaction. Each act sends a subtle signal into the collective, a new pattern for others to unconsciously follow. And slowly, like dawn spreading across a horizon, that light expands. The shared subconscious is not theory. It is the quiet hum that holds all of us together, the music beneath our separate melodies. When you begin to hear it even faintly, the world feels different. Loneliness softens, conflict makes less sense. You start to notice harmony beneath noise, connection beneath distance. And so, as this part of our journey comes to rest, hold this simple thought. You are never alone in your mind. Every moment of calm, every gentle thought, every kindness, all of it enters the invisible network that sustains life itself. The peace you make within yourself does not end there. It radiates silently but surely into the world. Our journey now turns toward the body, the vessel through which every whisper of the subconscious becomes physical. It's easy to imagine the mind and body as two separate worlds, one of thought, the other of flesh. But they are not separate at all. Every idea, every emotion, every small belief held beneath awareness ripples through muscle, heartbeat, and breath. The body is the subconscious made visible, a living diary of everything you have ever felt or imagined. There's a phenomenon in medicine called the placebo effect. At first glance, it seems mysterious. People given sugar pills or harmless saline injections often recover as though they had received real treatment. But this isn't magic. It's the power of belief. When someone truly expects to heal, the subconscious translates that expectation into chemistry. Stress hormones fall, immune cells activate, the heart beats more evenly. The body begins to behave as if wellness is already on the way. You might call it the body's trust response, faith made biological. If belief can trigger healing with no medicine at all, it suggests that the mind and body are partners in a constant conversation. Your thoughts are not just in your head, they echo in your blood. Every time you think a calming thought, small messenger molecules, endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin, move quietly through your body, softening tension, easing inflammation, strengthening resistance to illness. When you think fearful thoughts, other messengers take their place, preparing you for battle even when no danger exists. The body does not judge, it obeys. Modern science calls one aspect of this psychoneuroimmunology the study of how emotion and the nervous system influence immunity. But you don't need the term to understand the principle. When you feel safe, your body heals faster. When you feel loved, wounds close sooner. The heart listens not to logic but to tone. The tone of your inner voice, the emotional weather of your days. If that voice is kind, the body relaxes its guard. Another field, epigenetics, has shown that genes are not fixed scripts but dynamic listeners. Imagine your DNA as a library, each gene a book. Some are open and read often, others stay closed on the shelf. What determines which ones are opened? Signals from the environment, from nutrition, from movement, and from thought. The way you think and feel whispers to your genes, turning some on and letting others rest. When you live in constant stress, the genes for inflammation may be more active. When you cultivate calm and gratitude, the genes that support repair and balance open their pages instead. Your biology, in a sense, takes notes from your inner world. There are countless stories of this communication at work. A minister once diagnosed with lung cancer refused to accept despair. Each night he lay quietly, picturing his lungs as radiant and whole, filled with light. Over months, doctors watched in astonishment as scans showed steady improvement. Whether you call it faith, visualization, or subconscious cooperation, the process was the same. Belief reshaped biology. In another case, a paralyzed man rehearsed walking in his mind each day, feeling his legs move, hearing the floor beneath his feet. Slowly, signals returned, muscles reawakened, and one day, impossibly, he stood. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's real. It simply follows instruction. Of course, not every illness can be erased by thought alone. The body is complex and sometimes it needs help. Medicine, rest, time. But even then, belief determines how the body receives that help. A patient who trusts their recovery responds better than one who fears the worst. Hope is not denial. It's cooperation with the part of you that wants to live. There are simple ways to support this partnership. Laughter, for example, is nature's reset button. When you laugh, really laugh, your lungs expand fully, your diaphragm massages the organs, and your brain releases chemicals that neutralize stress. In that moment, the subconscious records a message. All is well. Gratitude works in a similar way. When you pause to notice beauty, a smell, a colour, a kind gesture, your nervous system shifts from defense to creation. The heart's rhythm becomes more coherent, its beat more harmonious. Studies have shown that gratitude reduces blood pressure, eases anxiety, and strengthens the immune system. But even without studies, you can feel it. The body hums differently when you are thankful. Meditation too speaks directly to the subconscious. Sitting quietly, breathing with awareness, you teach your body the shape of peace. The breath becomes a messenger between the seen and unseen, carrying calm through every cell. Some traditions say that each slow breath adds a small drop of harmony to the bloodstream. Whether poetic or literal, you can sense its truth when you breathe deeply enough. A gentle warmth, a looseness, a sigh of trust. None of these practices are about forcing health. They are about inviting it. The subconscious responds best to softness, not command. When you approach healing with patience and faith, you tell your deeper mind that there is no emergency, that it can relax its alarms and focus on repair. The same intelligence that heals a cut or mends a bone is already working in you every moment. All you need to do is remove interference, the noise of fear, guilt, or despair. Think of your body as an instrument constantly tuning itself to the song of your emotions. When you fill your day with worry, it tightens its strings. When you fill it with calm, it finds resonance. This doesn't mean you must be cheerful all the time. It means learning to meet each feeling without resistance. The body thrives on honesty. Even tears can be medicine when they flow freely. Suppressed emotion, on the other hand, becomes tension, and tension slows healing. You might try this simple exercise. Before bed, place a hand over your heart and whisper, "Thank you for all you've done today." Feel the chest rise beneath your palm, that steady rhythm, patient and constant. The subconscious hears gratitude as safety. Safety is what the body needs to repair itself. Over time, these small gestures accumulate. The cells begin to trust again, the muscles unclench, the mind stops scanning for danger. You may notice sleep deepening, digestion smoothing, even colours seeming brighter. These are not coincidences. They are the body's way of saying, I'm listening. I understand now that we're safe to heal. When peace becomes your default thought, the body follows. It doesn't need grand affirmations or miracles. It needs gentleness, the steady rhythm of a mind that chooses calm more often than chaos. In that rhythm, the heart, the breath, and the cells of your being align with the quiet order of the universe itself. Each one an echo of the same truth. That belief, when married to peace, is the most natural medicine of all. There's a moment in every quiet day when something small but curious happens. You think of a person, and a message from them appears a minute later. You leave home late but arrive just in time. A stranger's words echo a thought you were just about to speak. These little alignments are often dismissed as coincidence, but the subconscious treats them as confirmation, evidence that thought and reality are not so far apart as we imagine. This is the realm of what people like to call the law of attraction. Though that phrase can sound grander than the truth, it's not magic, not a cosmic vending machine, but a natural extension of how the mind filters the world. Whatever you give your sustained attention to, the subconscious assumes is important and begins searching for it everywhere. It's as if the mind has a radio dial, and your thoughts choose the frequency. Once tuned, you start to notice the songs that match. Opportunities, conversations, ideas, all vibrating in rhythm with your focus. You've likely experienced this on a smaller scale. Think of the last time you bought something new, a car, a jacket, a phone, and then began seeing that same object everywhere. The world didn't suddenly fill with it. Your subconscious simply adjusted its filters. The same process happens with beliefs. When you repeat life is stressful, the mind begins highlighting evidence of tension. When you quietly think life unfolds gently, it begins to select matching experiences. The world outside doesn't change immediately, but your perception does. And perception is the doorway to everything you experience. Scientists who study attention call this mechanism the reticular activating system, a network in the brainstem that decides what reaches awareness and what remains background noise. But you don't need the terminology. It's enough to know that your focus shapes your field of vision. Whatever you attend to expands, whatever you ignore fades. The subconscious obeys this as law. The good news is that you can teach this filter what to prioritize. Each night, before sleep, choose a thought you'd like to bring closer. It doesn't need to be grand. Something simple, like I notice kindness easily, or I find calm solutions. Repeat it gently, not as demand, but as an invitation. Imagine it as a note placed under your pillow for the deeper mind to read overnight. In the morning, you might be surprised by how quickly small examples begin to appear. A friendly encounter, a sudden insight, a problem quietly solved. This process is sometimes mistaken for superstition, but it's closer to alignment. When your inner world is organized toward peace, you begin to recognize peace in the outer world too. And because energy follows attention, calm becomes self-reinforcing. The subconscious loves familiarity. Whatever you feed it most often, it grows to recognize as home. So when you practice gratitude or trust daily, it begins to look for more of the same, building a loop of positive evidence. The effect can be subtle. You might notice that traffic lights seem to favor you more often, that conversations flow more smoothly, or that things you once worried about start resolving themselves without drama. These aren't miracles in the cinematic sense. They're examples of the subconscious synchronizing with the quiet order of life. The more you cooperate with that order, the easier it is to move through the world without resistance. Imagine yourself as a musician tuning an instrument. If one string is off, the whole melody feels uneasy. But when every string vibrates in harmony, even silence between notes feels full. Your mind works the same way. Each thought, each emotion, is a string you can tune. Worry creates dissonance. Faith restores harmony. You don't need perfection, just willingness to listen for the right note. Here's a small exercise to practice this harmony. Before you start your day, close your eyes for a moment and ask, what would it feel like if today unfolded with grace? Don't answer, just feel. Picture yourself moving through your tasks calmly, meeting people with ease, solving small problems with a smile. The image doesn't have to be detailed. Even a few seconds of genuine ease felt in the body is enough to set a tone. Throughout the day, that tone acts like a magnet, quietly attracting experiences that fit its frequency. Another way to work with this principle is to treat each thought as a seed and each feeling as the water that nourishes it. You can't plant a thought of peace and water it with frustration. The subconscious reads the emotion, not the words. So when you want to invite something into your life, approach it with affection, not effort. Say to yourself, wouldn't it be lovely if this happened? And let the idea drift like a feather instead of a stone. It's also wise to remain realistic and kind with yourself. The subconscious does not override reality. It collaborates with it. If you wish for calm, it won't erase the noise of the world, but it will help you navigate it more gently. If you wish for abundance, it won't drop riches from the sky, but it will help you notice opportunities that were always there. Creation, in this sense, is not about forcing outcomes. It's about becoming sensitive to what already exists and participating with grace. Throughout history, people have noticed that the tone of their inner world shapes the texture of their days. When you start the morning in frustration, the smallest inconvenience can feel unbearable. But when you begin in gratitude, noticing the light, the breath, the simple chance to begin again, the same challenges feel lighter, almost instructive. The subconscious turns that gratitude into a steady hum that colours perception. Suddenly, the day seems to cooperate. The universe, like a good conversation, mirrors your tone. You can anchor this awareness each evening through a simple ritual. As you prepare for rest, take a few slow breaths and recall 3 things that went right, however small: a meal, a smile, a task completed. Let each memory bring a gentle warmth to the body. Then imagine yourself handing the entire day, its joys and flaws alike, to your subconscious for safekeeping. Whisper, please carry forward only what serves peace. This act tells the deeper mind what kind of world you wish to wake into. Over time, these subtle practices become habits. You begin to see life not as a series of random events, but as a living dialogue between you and the world. Every thought is a sentence in that dialogue, every feeling a tone of voice. When you speak in fear, life answers with echoes of that fear. When you speak in trust, life replies in kind. The subconscious simply manages the translation. And so, perhaps there really are everyday miracles, not the loud, sudden kind, but quiet ones that unfold in plain sight. A conversation that heals misunderstanding, a stranger's kindness arriving exactly when needed, a door opening just as you reach it. When your mind and subconscious are in harmony, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The world starts to feel like a partner rather than a puzzle. As we move onward, our exploration will turn toward this partnership itself, how the conscious and subconscious can live not in hierarchy, but in harmony, like 2 instruments tuned to the same note. For now, you might carry this reflection, that every gentle thought is a small act of alignment, and that even the simplest moment of awareness, a breath, a pause, a smile, is proof that miracles in their quiet way are already happening. There comes a point in every inner journey when you realize that harmony is not about silencing one part of yourself to let the other speak. It's about letting both parts listen. The conscious and the subconscious are not rivals, nor are they meant to take turns in control. They are partners in the same creation, 2 voices in one quiet duet. When they move in rhythm, life begins to feel less like effort and more like flow. You can imagine the conscious mind as a captain steering a ship. and the subconscious as the devoted crew who knows the ocean by heart. The captain decides the destination, studies the maps, chooses direction. The crew carries out the work, adjusting sails, reading currents, keeping the vessel steady through calm and storm. Problems arise only when the captain forgets to communicate, or when the crew receives mixed signals. In the same way, confusion, stress, and contradiction in life often come from sending your subconscious unclear instructions. One day you say, "I want peace," and the next, you feed it a steady diet of worry. The crew can't follow both orders at once. Integration begins when communication becomes clear. You no longer treat the subconscious as something to dominate or fix, but as something to understand. Instead of fighting your habits, you learn to observe them, tracing their origins like paths in a forest. Awareness itself becomes the bridge. The moment you notice a pattern, a reaction, a tension, a repeated thought, it starts to loosen. The subconscious thrives in darkness, but the light of gentle attention changes everything. Mindfulness is one way to nurture this bridge. It's not about forcing the mind to be still, but allowing yourself to watch without judgment. As you breathe and simply notice, you're sending a message to the deeper self. It's safe to look. Over time, the subconscious begins to trust that safety and surfaces more freely. You may begin to notice subtle details you once missed. The small rise of anxiety before a conversation, the way your shoulders lift whenever you rush, the warmth that spreads when you feel accepted. These observations are the beginning of integration, conscious awareness embracing subconscious movement. A simple practice can help. During quiet moments, scan your body as if you were greeting old friends. Begin at your feet and move upward, pausing to notice sensations, pressure, temperature, ease, or tension. Don't try to change anything. Just acknowledge what you find. This act of awareness turns the body into a conversation partner. The subconscious, which speaks through muscles and heartbeat, recognizes your attention as respect. It begins to answer in return, a sigh, a release, a wave of calm that feels like a thank you. Another doorway to integration lies in speech. Every word you speak, especially the ones you repeat, is heard by the subconscious as instruction. Words are not just sounds, they carry emotional frequency. When you say "I can't," the deeper mind writes it down as law. When you say "I'm learning," it opens a new page. This doesn't mean censoring your honesty. It means choosing words that align with the reality you wish to nurture. You can acknowledge difficulty without commanding defeat. "This is hard" becomes "I'm finding my way through this." The difference seems small, but to the subconscious it is enormous. One closes doors, the other builds bridges. You can feel this in the way the body reacts. Try saying to yourself quietly, "I have to," and notice how your chest or shoulders tighten. Then change the phrase to "I choose to," and feel the shift. A little space opens, the breath moves more freely. That's the subconscious responding to language. It takes your words literally. Awareness of this transforms everyday speech into a tool of creation. The observer effect, a term borrowed from physics, captures this principle elegantly. In experiments, even the act of observing a particle changes its behavior. The same applies to thought. When you observe your mind kindly, thoughts begin to change their rhythm. Worry loses urgency. Anger softens around the edges. By watching without resistance, you alter the energy you're watching. The subconscious doesn't need analysis to heal. It needs compassion. Awareness is the gentle observation that says, "I see you, and it's okay." You can practice this integration anywhere, while walking, cooking, or speaking with others. Each time you catch yourself reacting automatically, pause for a single breath. That pause is not empty, it's full of possibility. It's the moment when the captain and the crew realign. You might even whisper inwardly, "We're on the same side." The more often you do this, the more trust builds between conscious direction and subconscious action. Life starts to move with a sense of quiet cooperation. Integration also means giving space for both logic and intuition. The conscious mind excels at planning and analysing. The subconscious excels at sensing and feeling. Let them collaborate. Use logic to define a goal and intuition to find the most graceful way toward it. For instance, if you want to improve your health, the conscious mind can set routines, better food, more rest. The subconscious can amplify that plan through imagery and emotion, picturing vitality, feeling gratitude for the body's strength. One provides structure, the other gives it life. Over time, this inner partnership creates what you might call psychological coherence, a state in which your thoughts, feelings, and actions move in the same direction. You no longer feel divided. Choices come easier. The voice of self-criticism grows quieter, replaced by an inner tone of guidance. It's not about perfection, it's about alignment. Here's a small nightly ritual to encourage this balance. As you prepare to sleep, think of one thing your conscious mind handled well today. A decision, a kind word, a bit of patience. Thank yourself for it. Then think of one way your subconscious supported you. A moment your body protected you, intuition warned you, or calm returned when you needed it most. Thank that part too. This practice unites the two minds in gratitude, teaching them to work as partners rather than strangers. In time, you begin to feel integration not as an idea but as a sensation, a steady hum of coherence beneath everything you do. You might notice that you recover faster from stress, that decisions feel more natural, that your sleep deepens. The captain and crew move as one, guided by the same star. And when storms come, as they always do, you find you can face them differently. Instead of fighting the waves, you adjust the sails. The subconscious brings endurance, the conscious brings direction. Together they navigate even the roughest waters. The deeper truth is this: your subconscious was never a servant to be commanded, nor a force to be feared. It is a friend, patient and devoted, waiting for clear communication. Integration isn't something you build, it's something you remember, that both minds were never separate, only misunderstood. From this place of partnership, we'll now move into the final reflection, the infinite stillness that underlies it all. There, beyond language and effort, lies the quiet current that carries you through every waking moment and every dream. The subconscious as life itself, the gentle rhythm that never stops. The path now narrows and grows quiet, not because the journey has ended, but because it leads back to where it began. Beneath every thought, beneath every dream or heartbeat, there is a stillness that has never moved. It was there before you learned language, before you built identity, before you called yourself a mind inside a body. This stillness is not an absence, it is presence itself, the background hum that holds everything you are. If you listen now, you can almost feel it. Between breaths, between thoughts, between the rise and fall of your chest, there's a small pause, a moment so brief the conscious mind usually skips over it. But if you stay with it, if you breathe into it gently, you begin to sense something vast beneath the quiet. This is the rhythm of the subconscious, the gentle current that never stops carrying you toward life. You don't have to create it or control it. It was always there, waiting for your awareness to return. In this stillness, the boundary between mind and body fades. You can feel thought turning into pulse, emotion turning into warmth, and breath turning into trust. What you once called inside and outside dissolve into a single field, consciousness shaping both matter and experience. You're not a mind trapped in a body, but awareness expressing itself as form. every breath is the universe breathing through you. Joseph Murphy spoke of this as faith, a deep knowing that the creative intelligence of life is always active whether or not you notice it. Dolores Cannon described it as the higher self, the part of you that exists beyond time, beyond confusion, guiding gently from beneath the surface. Neuroscience, in its own way, calls it homeostasis, the body's constant, invisible effort to balance, heal, and renew. But words and theories are only fingers pointing toward the same quiet truth. Something larger and wiser than thought is always caring for you. You can feel it each time you surrender into sleep. Sleep is not the mind's failure, it's its renewal. When you drift off, the conscious part finally steps aside and the subconscious takes full command, restoring, sorting, repairing, dreaming. It regulates millions of processes without you lifting a finger. Your heart continues, your lungs breathe, your cells divide and renew. It is a nightly miracle, so familiar we forget how astonishing it is. Even as you lie still, your deeper self is working, keeping watch. To experience this consciously, you don't need complicated rituals. Begin simply by sitting or lying down comfortably. Close your eyes. Notice the breath, not as something to control, but as something that's already happening. Feel it move in and out, a tide flowing through your chest. With each exhale, imagine yourself sinking gently into that tide. You might picture it as floating in warm water, or resting in the hollow of a vast quiet forest. Whatever image feels peaceful will do. After a few moments, thoughts will wander in, small ripples on the surface. Don't chase them away. Let them come and go like clouds. Beneath them, the stillness remains. The subconscious listens through that stillness. It doesn't need your words. It responds to your state. The more deeply you relax, the more clearly it begins to align with peace. You could say the universe calibrates itself to your calm. If a worry arises, treat it as a wave returning to the ocean. Observe it crest, then dissolve. The moment you stop resisting, it softens. This is how healing often begins, not through force, but through surrender. The deeper mind understands surrender as trust, and trust as safety. And when it feels safe, it returns to its natural rhythm of creation and repair. Some describe this inner silence as communion with the divine. Others see it as tuning into the unified field of consciousness. But names don't matter here. What matters is the feeling, the unmistakable sense that you are part of something vast and loving, and that this presence has been holding you all along. In this space, forgiveness becomes effortless. Gratitude arises naturally, and even old pain loses its edges. The subconscious, when bathed in stillness, reorganizes itself toward wholeness. You might notice small sensations as this happens. A warmth in the hands, a tingle along the spine, the subtle sway of breath through the heart. These are signs that body and mind are synchronizing, like instruments tuning to the same note. Science might describe them as changes in brainwave patterns, shifts towards slower rhythms, alpha, then theta, but you can think of them simply as the language of calm. The body speaks it fluently, the mind remembers it with practice. In this state, insight often arrives softly, not as lightning, but as dawn. A solution to something you've been worrying about may surface, clear and gentle. Or a memory might appear, not to hurt you, but to be healed at last. The stillness knows what to bring forward. You don't have to direct it, you just have to listen. And when you open your eyes again, the world may look slightly different. Colours a little warmer, sounds a little softer, time a little slower. This is the natural side effect of contact with the infinite stillness. Perception widens. You begin to see that everything, even chaos, has rhythm, that every person, no matter how distant, shares the same background hum. The subconscious connects all living things through this quiet pulse of existence. As the day ends, this stillness deepens once more. The light fades, the temperature cools, the senses grow dim, and your inner tide turns inward. Sleep calls you back to the realm where the conscious and subconscious merge completely, where thought dissolves and the deeper intelligence resumes its eternal work. If you listen closely before drifting off, you might whisper to yourself, "Tonight, I let go. My subconscious keeps watch. It will. While you sleep, it will mend what needs mending, create what needs creating, guide what needs guiding. It will sort dreams from lessons, fear from wisdom, and return you by morning to a slightly more peaceful version of yourself. You don't need to understand the process, you only need to trust it. And as this journey draws to its close, remember this: the stillness you feel now is not something you visit, it is what you are. Every sound, every heartbeat, every thought moves through it, but it itself never moves. It is the home your mind has been seeking all along. So as you rest tonight, let the rhythm of your breath merge with the rhythm of that infinite stillness. Let the body sink into safety, the mind into peace. There's nothing to achieve, nothing to hold, only the quiet awareness that everything, the seen and unseen, the waking and the dreaming, flows within the same eternal calm. And as the last words fade, let them become the softest of lullabies. Your subconscious keeps watch. It knows what to heal, what to grow, what to remember. You're carried by something vast, gentle, and endlessly awake. Sleep now, and let it continue its work.